Well, this is basically Amber's episode.
Oh, Lord.
This is awesome. I cannot wait to preface this with all the possible nonsense I can muster.
Lovely. Have fun with that. Well, we'll let you get started then.
Ready to go? So one thing I found out by listening to our podcast is I start off every single podcast by saying so. So
And I want to start off this podcast, right?
Are you starting off?
Because we got our ratings back.
Oh, really?
And,
Dun, dun, dun.
and
Really?
we're a big deal.
Oh, yeah?
We are moving up the charts.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
We are now officially number 1 fitness podcast in Romania.
Yes.
If
Go Romania.
if you recall, 2 weeks ago, we were number 2 in Romania.
Wow.
Now we're number 1 in Romania.
Wow.
Now, for anybody listening, these are the types of stats that podcast management teams feed you to make you happy.
To make you feel like you're doing something
Like you're doing
worthwhile.
something good. It's like,
I
good
don't
news,
know.
guys. You're doing really, really well. You're moving up the charts in Romania.
I feel like this is the part where we do like the queen wave and be like, I'd like to thank my sponsors and everybody who believed in me from the
Podcast. Why not wave on the podcast? Makes sense to me.
I think
Man.
we're doing really
Wow.
well.
Killing it in Romania.
Took us 20 episodes.
Yeah,
but
I've
officially climbed the
redirected.
charts.
Yeah, I've redirected because I was a little upset because my bag of Canadian loonies was smaller last month. But now that I know that we're charting in Romania, I mean, it feels
We're
even
getting
to
a
me.
raise. Woo!
You know what, Jonathan? I don't know if you know this, so I'm going to share this with you. This is a big podcast episode. This is probably one of our biggest episodes. Do you know why?
Why is that?
Two reasons. Number one, we're gonna talk about how to deal with clients who aren't following through, and we know that the people out. If you've been a coach for more than 1.5 minutes, you've had this experience. You know, if you coach anybody that breathes, you've had the experience of a person sort of not following through. But that's not the reason this is a big episode. Amber's going to be giving us insight this episode. That's right. For you listeners out there, I'm talking to you, Romania. For you listeners out there, the 16-year-old genius, the podcast savant, Amber Reynolds, is going to share with us just so much information your head won't be able to contain it. Get your notepads out. Get your writing utensils out. Get some hard liquor. We're about to go in for this episode of the Online Trainer Show. I'm not going to talk anymore. Oh, wait. We got the PTDC now. I'm so excited I've forgotten our sponsors.
Well, let me first talk about a change that's happening, Len and Carolina, to your compensation.
Okay.
Moving forward, now that we're such a big deal in Romania and we have all this Romanian money, you're now going to officially be paid in Romanian leu. Unfortunately, I just looked it up as you were talking. The Romanian leu is actually worth 1/3 of what the Canadian dollar is. So unfortunately, you're going to be paid 1/3 of what you've been paid now. You can thank Romania for that.
Damn it, Romania. We had one job.
You had one job.
Having listened to the last podcast, though, I really can't dispute it. It seems fair.
Can you imagine, Ren,
We
if you
deserve
went to
it.
the bank in North Carolina with a handful of Romanian leu and asked to transfer it?
First of all, if you have any other coinage in North Carolina, you're called a communist. So let's start there. Like we don't play those games in the American South, sir. You know, it's an affront to patriotism anywhere below the Mason-Dixon line. You guys are trying to get me shot. So let's defer to PTDC because this seems like a perfect segue. PT distinction makes the lives of trainers easier while helping them deliver an amazing, professional, first-class service to their clients. You've got a deal there, 60 days, no cost, trial period, PTDC. Go to onlinetrainer.com/PTD and knock yourself out. Amber's shaking her head already. She's already clean it up later. It's what we do here. Online Trainer Academy. We're all graduates or affiliates or light stalkers of the Online Trainer Academy. It's all the same to Jonathan. He doesn't care. He just wants the attention. Go over to onlinetrainer.com/academy. Let's get you enrolled, man. The Online Trainer Academy is they'll teach you how to coach clients online responsibly and profitably. I like that word. With the Online Trainer Academy Level 1 certification program, you too can be paid in Romanian leu. Is that correct, Jonathan? Take this thing away, Jonathan. I'm tired of talking already.
What's the topic again today?
I don't know what the topic is. It's when your clients don't follow through and you.
Okay. No, I got it. Okay. Hello, my name is Jonathan Goodman, and welcome to the Online Trainer Show. Today's episode 21, which means that it took us 20 episodes to climb the charts of Romania. Unfortunately, the United States charts are a little bit tougher to reach number 1 at, but we're going to still work it on that one. Today, we're talking about what to do if your clients stop responding or stop doing their workouts and what to do about it online. Thanks for listening.
This is the Online Trainer Show, Trainer Show, Trainer Show. This is the Online Trainer Show. We shouldn't have a podcast.
Jingle, jingle. So this is.
I don't think there's a jingle.
There's always a jingle.
I don't think there's a jingle at the beginning.
I know that there's a jingle because people are slightly annoyed and quite entertained by it at the same time, which is the exact emotion I was going for when I was recording it. I love that.
The best comment was, I know Len can sing. I heard him sing in another episode. He sang well. Why does he sing purposefully badly?
One day we've got to play that. We got to play that round robin recording that we all tried initially. So people can hear what a train wreck. You know, I sound like Pavarotti compared to that thing. Let me tell you.
Carolina was so quiet. She hated herself. She hated every decision she made up until that point.
She really did hate herself.
On a trainer show.
She was not energetic at all.
No.
I felt depressed after listening to her. Quite honestly.
I just love how the jingle came to be. I feel like we need to tell the story of how the jingle came to be. I literally said in one of our planning meetings, which we had like 2, obviously, we didn't have many of them. But I literally said in one of our planning meetings, I'm like, guys, we need a song that people are going to get pissed off at us about because it's really bad and really annoying and they can't get it out of their head.
And you know what? Nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
We did exactly what we set up. This is why it's important to have a goal, kids.
Just call me the mailman, baby, because I delivered that thing. So let's check in with our in-the-field correspondent. We always got to check in really quickly with Carolina, see if there's anything new. I see that you're back from vacation.
Yes.
So how was that? Was that you had a good time? You feel refreshed and revived?
I feel refreshed and revived, and now we're revving up, prepping our camping trip in like legitimate, like the Canadian outback in one of the biggest kind of like provincial parks in the area. It's one of those like tie your food up because the bears can get it in the night. Like nobody wants that. So I'm terrified. I am terrified. I'm a city girl. This is not okay. I am not okay. I'm not coping well.
If I can
help.
What city?
Yeah.
Monterrey, Mexico is an 8 million people city.
Oh, Monterrey, 100%
Yes.
Monterrey.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, not Barrie. No, not Barrie. That's
Okay.
a tiny city. We've been over that. Back in Mexico, I was born and raised in a massive city. So this is not okay with me. Send help.
Yeah, no, Monterrey, Mexico's insane. You fly over it, you see the cities built up.
Yeah.
Holy
Oh,
crap,
yeah.
it's big. Mexico City is the most insane.
Yeah, that's a whole other beast for sure. So anyway, that's what I'm up to. Just,
awesome.
Terrified for my life.
Yeah,
that's all.
You guys enjoy. If I can quote the great Randy Jackson of American Idol fame, it's a no for me, dog. So Jonathan, anything interesting going on before you bring on our special guest? I mean, this is a massive show. Like if you've waited this long, if you waited till episode 21 to check in with the Online Trainer Show, this is the show that we will want you to come in on, because this is the show that's going to blow your mind. It's going to knock your socks off because Amber's actively participating in the show. And Jonathan, anything going on with you, or do we need to segue right to Amber? You want to talk a little bit about
I want to talk about Amber. I want to hear from Amber because I'm really interested in what she has to say in this episode. But I do want to share an experience that I had last week that was a really negative experience that I think people can gain from. Is that cool?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So as I mean, I don't know why anybody would know this. As you all know, I've been doing a ton of podcast guest appearances and stuff like that. I mean, I've been doing 2 or 3 a week, basically since we started our podcast. So I've done 20, 23, 24 or something. I think I've got 4 or 5. I'm doing one right after this. And for the most part, they're pretty good. Like, even if, I'll get an introduction to the host or I'll know the host or something like that. But I did one last week. And it was like unquestionably the worst experience that I've had.
Really?
And it could have so easily been avoided. And I want to talk about it because I want to give an example of like exactly how you should not treat somebody. So this is somebody who, I mean, is reasonably well established in the industry, been around for a long time, basically was introduced to me from somebody else to be on his podcast from another podcast that I was on. And I actually met him once, but not well. So I didn't know. But anyway, he canceled on me the first time, which is fine. Stuff comes up. I mean, I have to cancel on people too. So I gave him the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
But then the second time he shows up 20 minutes late to the podcast recording. And I had, of course, something booked afterwards. Like I do this podcast. Like I've like recorded this 1:15 to 2 and I have something at 2. So I had something afterwards. We came on and I'm like, I do like totally cool to do this. Like happy to go. But like I have a hard stop. It's like, oh, we're not going to be able to get much done. Then I'm like, you showed up 20 minutes late.
No.
Like I was here on time. Like I went on snack, And then the first thing he said to me was, all right, man. So yeah, like you were referred by, my buddy. And so I'm sure this is going to be awesome, but I don't really know much about you. So like, what do you do?
Oh no.
What?
That didn't happen.
That's just
like, it is not very hard. We have had this booked for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And you canceled on me already.
Wow.
It is not very hard for you to click twice and be like, oh, this guy's got some website that like educates trainers. Cool. Let's talk about that. Or whatever, right?
Cool.
And so, I mean, the conversation was fine. It flowed. He's a good conversationalist. But it was just immediately that happened. And I kind of, I hung up the call. I hung up. It's a funny phrase to use with like, I clicked the button to end the call.
Right.
And I was like, I have absolutely no desire to have anything to do with this person ever again in any capacity.
Yep.
That is the opposite that you ever, like, if anything, podcasting is a great medium to get to know people and to network with people as a first go. Right. That you then build relationships with them throughout the years.
Right.
And so, like, if you're going to work with somebody, if you get a chance to interview somebody, I mean, whether they're a big deal or you're a big deal or whatever. I mean, I don't know what this guy thought. I don't think that I'm a big deal. I just like talking to people. I'm a person.
Right.
It's just disrespectful to act that way to somebody, irregardless of what's going on or what the situation is. Like,
did you say irregardless? I just want to quote.
That is an actual word. We talked about this.
They're adding it. It's like 2020. No.
Mm-hmm. My Joey, who's across from me, who's listening to this, who's a big fan of the podcast, by the way, who's a creative
in Romania?
No, he's in northern Toronto. First of all, really funny quote from him this morning. He saw like an ebook cover by somebody, and he's like, oh man, this is horrible. I was like, yeah, it's probably like a $5 thing. He's like, I wouldn't pay more than $3 for that.
Burn. There you go, Joey. Take those $2 away.
Take those $2 away. Wouldn't pay more than $3. But yeah, he told me about the irregardless thing. But like, irregardless of whether you think that you're important or not or whatever it is, it's just straight up disrespectful. Like, if you're going to be 20 minutes late, be 22 minutes late and click on my website.
Yeah, good
it's not hard to find. So anyway,
oh my God.
Don't be like that guy.
That's horrible.
For today.
That's horrible. So
and don't create ebook covers that aren't even worth $5.
It's beneath. You're lower than the $5 scale. So
it was such a funny like, oh, I'm so good at art and design. Oh, I wouldn't pay more than $3 for that. You can see him. I'll point towards him because now he's just laughing.
Hi, Joey.
Hi. Joey, good to see you, buddy. You're doing great work there, Joey. So Jonathan and Amber, if I may call you Amber, I feel so nervous now because Amber's going to like talk for real and like she might say stuff about us, and I don't want her to do that. Getting a client to follow through. We've all had this challenge, and I'll speak for myself. I know the first time I had it, I took it personally. It's an affront to my trainerhood, right? So I know a lot of you guys out there have probably felt the same way. I'm failing as a trainer because Betty didn't do her squats. Now I've lost her and I should have stayed in insurance. Or maybe that's just me. Right.
Betty.
I'm so bad.
Why, Betty? Why?
So Amber, go ahead and unmute yourself. I'm going to let Jonathan do what he does, and then but I want you to be prepared.
What am I doing? I got nothing on this. Amber is the expert on this.
Oh, Amber's taking this away.
This is a situation where empathy is very, very important, and curiosity is very important. And I don't know if
so
you know
Jonathan
this
is
about
out.
Say no more, Jonathan.
He's like tapping out, man. Empathy.
He
Forget
had
it.
us at empathy, Jonathan. We totally get it. Yeah, the
No,
viewing
legit.
audience gets it. Yeah.
I turn to two members of our team, Amber and Alex, when I need to understand empathy. Because I'm like, hey, how should I be feeling in this situation?
Right. Jonathan's basically a T100. He's Arnold
When you
Schwarzenegger from the
outsource,
Terminator.
no. Like when you outsource like emotions and understanding of emotions, like you're got an issue.
We need to outsource, Jonathan. What are we outsourcing? My feelings.
Feelings. How should I be nice to people?
Post in favor for somebody to come and do that work for you,
Right.
man.
So this falls squarely on the shoulders of our own Amber Reynolds, and Amber,
muscular shoulders,
her deltoids are ripped. I talked about that in the last episode that
Can
appeared.
confirm.
Yeah, just the deltoids. So Amber, I guess my first question is, and then I'll let you take it from here, is as a trainer, how much of this is our fault? How much of it is failure, and how much of it is just not understanding or setting the table appropriately as we enter into an engagement with a client? Talk to us, Amber.
Oh man, I'm nervous.
Good.
You've set me up way too high here, Ren.
It's my
so
way.
it is your way, but I adore you anyway. I probably have the unpopular opinion that it's usually our fault. Mm-hmm. Somewhere along the line of whether we didn't qualify them appropriately in the first place, to not listening well, or not coaching well. So usually there's something going on, in those stages. If the client isn't succeeding, that's probably our fault most of the time. Mm-hmm. I think, a lot of times we get emails, messages on Facebook or posts or whatever, how do I help my client actually do what I told them to do?
Right.
And I think it's funny because I feel like we as trainers are so desperate to help our clients. Like I can just, it's palpable how much they're just dying to help their clients. Right. But we make the mistake of dictating instead of collaborating. So we know, okay, if they do X, Y, and Z, they'll succeed. But then we forget context. They have relationships, they have jobs, they have feelings, they have emotion, stress, illnesses, all of the stuff coming up that we have to help them understand how to apply the principles and context. And in order to do that, we have to work with our clients versus just say, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z. The principle that I try to work from is, my job as a coach is to be the port in the storm of information and to facilitate, not dictate.
Whoa,
so,
wow. Hold on, just wait a second, because that was profound. Did you say
we all just decided that we need Amber more in this podcast?
Right.
Amber, we got to buy you a mic.
Right.
I'm literally sweating over here because I'm nervous. No.
That's all right. Also, it's hot in the Southeast. So did you say the port in a storm of information?
Yes.
Holy smokes. Jonathan, first of all, well, I guess you can't tell Amber to write that down so you can steal it because it came from her. But can you tell her to tell it to you again and then write it down herself so you can steal it later? Because that's just awesome.
The more schooner references, the better, I feel.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We don't talk about ships enough on this podcast, oceanography and just general sailings. But I want to dive into that, and I'll let you get back. But that's something significant that we don't understand, because what I'm taking from that is, like, we know all this stuff, so it seems easy for us to understand. But for them, it's just a deluge of things coming at them almost right after sending us their money. Here's everything. So zero in on that for a second really quickly, because I think this probably speaks to your setup process. And since that's sort of natural in the process of dealing with a coach, take us through how you sort of preface everything is setting when you're sort of enrolling, onboarding a client, because it seems like it's significant as to why you're able to help them.
Yeah, so a lot of this, and I mean, our job in general is motivational interviewing. And so, part of the very first thing that we do is have an initial call where we go through their entire history and we do a deep dive into history, what they're currently going through, what their behaviors are, what makes them feel good, what makes them feel bad, and kind of just go through all of that together. And then, my job is to help, or not to help, but to reflect back what they're saying, find positives, and then summarize, which is the motivational interviewing process, and then ask them to come up with a solution. So my job isn't to problem solve for them, but to ask them questions to let them create the program for themselves. I help inform and pick pieces of information, but I'm not going to say, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z. So it may be that they want to lose weight. Great. They may be interested in eating less, drinking more water, getting more veggies in, whatever. Great, pick one. What are you most interested in doing? Let's tackle that one thing versus trying to tackle everything at once. Because we all know, we've all had clients that, will white knuckle everything for 6 weeks and then crash and burn. So it's just easier when they have the authority to make those decisions themselves. They A, are more likely to actually do them, and then B, to stick with them for a longer period of time.
That makes sense. So is there anything particular in your setup process that you think is one of the first keys to not having to getting them to follow through later on in the process? Is there anything that you say specifically that you can think of when you're in your onboarding process that makes it easier or sort of prevents the possibility of you having to chase the client around later?
Yeah, so for anybody that's kind of followed precision nutrition, one of the best questions that you can ask is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in being able to do X? Right. So at the very first, we're figuring out, okay, is this even reasonable to expect from you given your current situation? So if we're being realistic, that automatically ups the chances of them being adherent to the program. So that's one thing. And then also having them track in a way that they are comfortable. So I may have clients that track food in MyFitnessPal because they're comfortable there. Or maybe they send me messages with pictures of their food because that's what they feel comfortable doing. So you have to be flexible in your coaching to adapt to what their needs are so they can be adherent. So it's a lot of learning to listen and to be creative and flexible.
That makes sense. I want to defer to Jonathan and Carol for just a second, and I know we've got short time today. But Jonathan, when you hear Amber talking about how she starts off, what's your thoughts about that part of the process? Do you feel like generally in the online coaching space, we're probably not as deliberate with setting expectations up front, and that's why things sort of get away from us when we get into the meat, quote unquote, of the program?
I love what Amber said. I mean, one of the things that I've always been passionate about is for the majority of people that we work with, they kind of know what they should do. They kind of know that the 90-10 principle of what they should do. Look, somebody eating 2 pizzas every day knows that they probably shouldn't eat 2 pizzas every day. Right? You don't need to tell them to not eat 2 pizzas every day. Sometimes, you know what? Straight up, I want to eat 2 pizzas sometimes.
Same.
And I do. Because I like pizza, except pineapple on pizza's weird. But yeah, Amber, it is. Don't look at me like that. Pineapple is weird on pizza, and pineapple on a pizza in the box with the pizza that doesn't have pineapple is so weird and so bad, it makes the other pizza taste bad.
You're wrong. You're just so many levels of wrong.
You're wrong, but okay.
Right. It's wrong, but okay. So Amber, and I'm
what are we talking about again? No,
I'm going to come to you next, kiddo.
I do believe that it's really, really important to actually ask the client what they what they have. And I also think that it's really valuable to just have the simplest tools. I wrote in Ignite the Fire, I think in 2011, about the green face diet, which I don't think that I'm the person who came up with it. Maybe I did, I'm not actually sure, but it's as basic as a simple tool to be able to get a client to basically celebrate that they like adhered to whatever they were doing. It wasn't, diet plan or anything like that. It's just, hey, is the food that you ate, was it green, i.e. was it like a veggie, or did it have a face, which means was it a protein? I mean, obviously vegetarian doesn't have a face, but is it like a vegetable or a protein for the majority of what you eat? And so people would come in, or people would report to me on like a little, like meal plan, not meal plan, but like reporting tool that I created back in the day. And they would just draw a green face. That was literally it. That was all I needed to know. Right. And having that allowed them to just very easily stick to it, that quick little tool. It ain't complicated for the most part, for most clients.
Right.
I do want to say, because I mean, Amber obviously is empathetic much more than I am here, and way better at this, which is why, I mean, look, Amber is one of our coaches with the Online Trainer Academy and mentors our students, and you can tell why. I mean, she's very, very good at working with trainers through their problems with clients and helping them with what questions to ask. And this is a question that comes up a lot. And so how do you work with a client who stops reporting? How do you work with a client who stops sending in their workouts and stuff like that? And those students in OTA go to our mentors and say, hey, I'm having this come up. Like, what do I do? And our mentors like Amber can help them through it. That's one of the most valuable services they provide. But I want to relate, and then I'm going to be quiet because you guys are way better than this at me, but I want to relate a story that I'll never forget of an old workout partner of mine that I worked out with for a few years back in the day. And at that point, he was a pilot. Now he's an air traffic controller, but like super into aviation, of course. And we worked out together, and he was, super in shape, and he was a great workout partner, but he obviously wasn't in the fitness industry. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was sitting with him. We actually had a barbecue after a workout. And I remember I was sitting with him in my parents' backyard. We just had a barbecue because it was close to the gym. And I was talking to him about hypertrophy. And I think I was talking to him about, like, I don't even know, the myelin sheath or something like that. Like something physiological about how the body works and how muscles form. Mm-hmm. It might have been like myosin-actin bridge. It might have been something like that. And I kind of connotated that he was stupid for not knowing how it worked.
Right.
And he just looked at me straight-faced, and he's just like, what's the average takeoff velocity of a Boeing 747? And immediately I realized how dumb I was. Because that, in his world, if you don't know that, you're like that's like the baseline of knowledge, right? The same as for us. And for him, what was second nature was like foreign to me, and the same thing. And we have to really dissociate from ourselves and put ourselves in our client. And so I love that Amber said that, what we know, what we think about and live and breathe all day, every day is literally what our clients pay us to not have to think about.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. So let me take it back to Amber, and then I'm gonna cut to you, Keto, so you can add a little to this, because I know you've got some insight. You're chomping at the bit. So Amber, you've got your setup, right? The setup's important. It's crucial to make sure that you head off a lot of challenges up front by being clear in the front end of the process, by being by sort of reducing the jargon, and by finding out what the capability of the client is. Once you get into the program, what are some of your techniques to keep them sort of, I don't want to say in line, but let's just say in line as you're going through the program? Talk to us a little bit about your process, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of, coaching calls and kind of setting up, for me, like I have a lot of automated messages that kind of hit them when I know they're going to hit a low point. Like we typically know about week 3, right? The excitement has worn off and things are getting stale because I miss, whatever. So I'll send something to kind of head off that drop in motivation that I know is going to happen. So I have anything from TED Talks, articles, memes, whatever scheduled ahead of time in their program. And if I can, I'll try to make it specific to them. Like, for example, I have a client that's really into anime. I don't know anything about anime, but I've scheduled about a bunch of memes in her program to help boost her spirits. And it makes it fun for her to check in, and it makes it fun for her to adhere to the app and the program. And then on coaching calls, it's going back to motivational interviewing and just knowing that we don't live in a vacuum.
I don't know.
We have to troubleshoot, on almost a daily basis because that's life. And so teaching them to adapt and be flexible is a big part of the job.
Absolutely. So Keto, you shook your head up and down when you got to the when we got to the 3 week, because third weekend for online coaching is like terrible twos. Like this is when the tantrums start. It is so funny you said it, Amber, because I have a 3 week video that I put in just telling them, hey, I know that you hate me right now. Basically, is what I say. Like, you're tired of me. Honeymoon's over. I'm boring you to death. So and we know that. So Keto, have you had that experience, and do you intervene? Do you try to get ahead of it like Amber does?
Yeah. And it's interesting because once you actually, if you can almost predict it, call it out, let the client know, you know what, you're going to feel these things at some point. You're going to hate my voice. You're going to hate seeing my name in your inbox. That's okay, because it's normal. Your natural instinct is to start rebelling against this thing that is difficult and causing you to have to think about things that you don't typically think about. It's okay. Embrace it. And so that's kind of how you beat it to the punch. Right?
Absolutely.
If you call it out, just, noticing and naming. And another important thing, kind of tying back to what Amber was saying, is the concept of stacked logs. When somebody's failing to move forward, there is there's a specific reason why. And sometimes that reason is so dumb and tiny and insignificant, but it's preventing them from moving forward. So until you identify what the stacked log is, they're not going to flow in the river of their progress.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, we got 2 eloquent posts today. Until you can figure out what the backlog is, they will not flow in the river of progress. Is this Shakespeare today in the park? Did I sign up for Shakespeare in the Park today? Because Jonathan, are you co-opting all this?
Ren used, not to be missed, Ren, you used the word deluge.
I did use deluge
yes,
today.
You did. I noticed that. I was
it's
damn.
A very big deal. It's a very big deal.
Getting fancy here.
So Amber, let's follow up and close this thing out. Jonathan's got to run. He's already bored listening to us today anyway.
I'm impressed listening to you guys today. I can just chill out.
He's basically he's playing Tetris or something over there on his computer.
This is what happens when you let others speak, Jonathan.
Yeah, he doesn't know what you just said, Keto.
One every 20, Carol. One every 20.
He wasn't listening. So Amber, we've got 2 steps to the process. We know what we're doing in the beginning, right? We're being very, very clear, utilizing that motivational interviewing. We're setting expectations based on the client, not on us. We know that through the process, we're sort of trying to be preemptive, right? The shock and awe strategy of the first Bush. You got to let them know, and I mean the President Bush, you got to let them know up front that these things are to be expected. You know that these things are going to happen. Let's say all that falls through, right? Because clients are going to say, the listener is going to say, yeah, but I still had a client that, but let's say all that falls through. And now you have to have the conversation about coming back, bringing them back in. What's your strategy there? Because this is going to happen too.
Well, it depends, and I'll leave this in the show notes because I know John's going to go here in a minute. Essentially, usually when that happens, they stop responding, due to guilt or shame or something. And there's a message that John had left a long time ago that I keep saved for situations like this. And it's literally, again, going back to motivational interviewing, and you can message them and say something like, I noticed that you haven't been responding to my messages. No problem. My job isn't to tell you what to do. Instead, it's to help guide you. Can you tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed do you feel right now to achieving X that we established a short while ago? There's no right or wrong answer. You don't have to impress me. I just want to get a handle on how you're feeling right now. Okay, cool. And then let them, answer back to that, because that relieves all of the pressure that they're probably feeling for not following through.
Love it.
Because there's always a lot of guilt and shame associated with that.
Yeah.
Boom. Man,
I said
eloquent
that?
and profound.
You did, and I saved it, and I will put it in the show notes for everybody.
Yeah, because
Wow,
I
we're
need that
killing
one.
it.
Yes.
Like, who are we? This episode is just
Okay.
like, what are we doing?
I don't
Well,
even know where I
last
am
episode
right now.
I said peaks and valleys, and that it was a valley. I think we've hit a peak, everybody.
Yeah. This
Wrap it up. We're done.
Just
Wrap it up. What I would like is for Len to read the show notes in the voice of Betty the client.
Betty.
Let's go, Betty.
I don't, Betty. Okay. Thank you for the online training show. I mean, I didn't even know that we were supposed to do a show today, and I don't know why I have to read the show notes because I didn't really want to read them. And Marsha. But if you want the show notes, I don't get to write them. Amber always steals them. But if you want them, you can go to onlinetrainer.com/podcast. And nobody ever leaves me a message about anything or refuses at all. If you just give us a 5-star rating, we love it. But you won't because nobody listens to me. This has been the Online Trainer Show. Holla.
Bye, Romania.